Before we speak to the Energy Minister, Josh Frydenberg, let's take a look at this confrontation between the Energy Minister and Labor MP Joel Fitzgibbon in the corridors of Parliament just moments ago.
This is what you people don't understand.
What percentage of New South Wales power comes from Liddell?
Josh, I'm concerned.
10%. A million homes, Joel. That's why we need to keep it going.
Where is Liddell going to
Blackout bill.
Where is
and
Liddell
brownout
going to
butler.
get coal from after 2022?
Well, they have contracts.
Are you aware of the contract?
They have contracts.
Do you know it's an obligation to sell coal at 1/3 of the price they can receive on export markets? Josh, you need to do your homework.
Can I just say, Joel,
But I
we
know
met
you're
with Andy.
embarrassed.
We met with Andy yesterday.
And you've misrepresented him
no,
again.
Oh, well, you're now defending the big energy
You've been
companies
bullying him.
who are making big profits, who are seeing
Off the back of the high prices you created.
Off the back of Australian families, and that's the concern we have with
Josh,
blackout bill and
Josh,
brownout butler.
I think you're embarrassed.
I
think you're embarrassed because every day you've got to roll out and support the Prime Minister's desperate attempts to mislead the Australian community.
Who needs question time? Energy Minister Josh Frydenberg joins us now from Parliament House. Minister, good morning to you. I'll ask you the question,
Good morning, Michael.
Where is AGL going to get the coal from post-2022 if it keeps the plant open, which we now know it won't?
Well, they actually have very cheap coal contracts out to 2025, and that's a legacy of when they bought the asset. The key point here is that we have a report from the Australian Energy Market Operator which indicates that were Liddell to close in 2022 as scheduled, there would be a supply shortfall of 1,000 megawatts in the market. So our first responsibility is to help stabilise the system and ensure affordable power. There's no other option on the table, although AGL does want to work out and work up other options, but the current option on the table is to keep Liddell open or to sell it to another party, as Andy Vesey has indicated previously.
He's ruled out both of those options. As you heard last night, he wants to close it by 2022 and doesn't want to sell the plant. So what happens next?
Well, actually yesterday at the meeting, he acknowledged to the Prime Minister that he himself had said to the Prime Minister just weeks ago that he was prepared to consider selling Liddell to another party. Now, if this is a worthless asset, as AGL is saying that it will be, then why don't they test the market? Why don't they allow other interested parties who have already indicated that they would be prepared to do due diligence on the asset? Why don't they allow that process to take place?
Well, I go back to the question. He might have told the Prime Minister that, but as we all heard, as our viewers heard, he told our colleague Matt Wordsworth something completely different late last night.
Well, that's a question you're going to have to ask Andy Vesey. I was at the meeting, so was the Deputy Prime Minister and the Prime Minister yesterday.
Well, you heard, excuse the interruption, you heard what he said. So he doesn't want to keep it open, the Liddell plant, after 2022. He was very honest, he was very definite on that. What happens next?
Well, they are going to take to their board a request from the Prime Minister that they either keep the power station open for another 5 years or that they sell to another party. At the same time, they're going to work up other options which they say can provide a sufficient amount of dispatchable, reliable power into the system equivalent to what Liddell produces today, with no adverse impacts on either price or the stability of the system. What we understand now is that the transition to a lower emissions economy is not as easy as some people will make out. And we do need dispatchable baseload power, and that is what the AEMO report has highlighted. Our political opponents think that this is an issue for down the track. That were Bill Shorten's words. We see it as an issue now, and indeed the Australian Energy Market Operator says time is of the essence to work out a solution, and that's what we are doing.
And having ruled out keeping the plant open, again, we all heard him say that. Andy Vesey is obviously going to take option 3 to the board, and I want to ask you, what are those options, alternative options, and will they be reliable as power coming from the coal-fired plant at Liddell?
Well, Michael, just to correct you, he's going to take options 1 and 2 as well.
But he ruled those out last
night.
He said he wasn't going to keep it open.
Well, he's actually put out a press release straight after the meeting saying that he will take options 1 and 2 to the board. So unless he's contradicting his own press release from half an hour probably before he said those comments, then I think he's still taking options 1 and 2 to the board.
He is contradicting.
The reality is...
He is contradicting what the press release said. He said, and I'll read you the quote again, "I think that we are committed to finding the best solution for the market. We believe we can deliver that without having to consider the extension or to sell the plant, and that is what we're going to work on."
Well, he's also said in his press release that he will follow up the discussion with the Prime Minister in taking a request to keep the Liddell Power Station running for another 5 years or to sell it to another party. He's committed that to the Prime Minister, so I would be astounded, indeed astonished, if he was not to do that as promised at yesterday's 90-minute constructive meeting with the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister.
Is he speaking with a forked tongue, as your colleague Craig Kelly asserts this morning?
Look, I will leave characterisation such as that to my other colleagues, but the reality is AGL are making the vast bulk of their profits from coal. 85% of their generation today comes from coal, and they own another couple of important coal assets, Bayswater in New South Wales, Loy Yang in Victoria, which have closure dates in the late 2030s and in the 2040s. So they're not getting out of coal anytime soon. But what they obviously want to do is maximise their power in the market, and that means ensuring that no one else buys Liddell. What our interest is in ensuring competition in the market, more supply in the market, and importantly, more dispatchable, baseload, reliable power. Liddell provides that, and that's why we'd like to see you keep it open, particularly in light of the AEMO advice.
OK, we'll see what the AGL board decides. Josh Frydenberg, thanks for joining us. I think it's safe to go back to the press gallery corridors now.
Thanks, Michael.
Never know who you'll run into in those press gallery corridors.
It's a robust place, not just in the chamber.
Sounds like they may need another meeting between AGL and the government to sort out exactly what the message is.
And we all heard what the AGL boss said, and whatever he said in his press release, he directly contradicted to our colleague Matt Wordsworth last night. So we'll see how it plays out, won't we?
Sure did. Now,